Welcome to our deep dive into James Allen's The Life Triumphant.
Oh, yeah.
Today we're going on this journey
Okay.
to unlock the secrets of self-mastery
Mm-hmm.
and, really understand what it takes to live that truly fulfilling life.
Right.
Get ready to
Man.
explore thought-provoking concepts like the real meaning of faith,
Okay.
the interplay of strength and gentleness, and how that can achieve true godliness.
Interesting.
And the age-old question, can sacrificing temporary pleasure
Yeah.
truly unlock lasting joy?
Okay.
So this book, The Life Triumphant,
Mm-hmm.
argues that by mastering our thoughts and actions, we
Right.
can build a life
Okay.
filled with purpose and joy.
Yeah.
It's a powerful idea,
Absolutely.
and I'm eager to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, what's striking about Alan's approach is his directness.
Okay.
He doesn't shy away from the challenges of self-mastery.
Right.
He asserts that victory over life's obstacles is achievable, but it demands courage and effort.
This idea of fighting bravely,
Yeah.
it seems to go beyond just physical courage, right?
Absolutely.
What kind of fight is Alan really referring to?
He's talking about that inner battle that I think we all face. You
Yeah.
know, the struggle to choose faith over doubt,
Mm.
to rise above our circumstances,
Yeah.
to tap into this unwavering belief in the inherent goodness of life.
Okay.
And Alan differentiates between
Yeah.
blind faith and true faith.
Okay.
True faith isn't about clinging to dogma. It's
Yeah.
about cultivating this inner knowing that even amidst hardships,
Yeah.
there's an overruling good at play.
That's interesting
Yeah.
because he actually suggests that lamenting misfortune is like a sign of lacking this core faith.
Right.
It seems counterintuitive. Shouldn't we be allowed to feel bad when bad things happen?
It's not about denying our feelings,
Right.
but rather about examining the root of those feelings.
Right.
So if we're constantly dwelling in negativity and blaming external factors for our unhappiness,
Yeah.
we're essentially relinquishing our power.
Oh.
We become victims of circumstance
Okay.
instead of active participants in shaping our own destiny.
And he has some strong words for those who constantly play the victim.
Oh, he does.
Right.
He doesn't hold back at all.
No, he doesn't.
He sees through the facade of those who claim to be too unselfish
Okay.
while secretly harboring envy and resentment.
Right.
It's this subtle self-centeredness that Alan wants us to confront.
Mm-hmm.
He challenges us to look inward and examine our own motivations.
So instead of wallowing in self-pity,
Yeah.
Alan suggests we view suffering as a disciplinary experience.
Okay.
How can we possibly reframe challenges in this way?
Imagine a sculptor chiseling away at a block of stone.
Okay.
The process is messy. There's dust and debris flying everywhere.
Right.
But with each strike, the sculptor is shaping that stone into a work of art.
Yeah.
Similarly, Alan sees suffering as a necessary part of our own refinement.
Okay.
Each challenge we face, each obstacle we overcome,
Mm-hmm.
helps to shape us into stronger, more resilient individuals.
I love that analogy. Yeah.
It reframes suffering as a transformative process, not a punishment.
Exactly.
You mentioned earlier that Alan uses the analogy of faith being like a dim lamp,
Yeah.
guiding us through darkness until we reach the brilliance of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Could you expand on that a bit?
It speaks to the power of even a flicker of faith.
Okay.
So imagine yourself stumbling through a dark forest,
All right.
armed with only a dim lamp.
Okay.
It might not illuminate the entire path,
Yeah.
but it provides just enough light to guide your next step.
Right.
Similarly, even a small amount of faith can sustain us through difficult times, leading us towards greater understanding and eventually the full illumination of knowledge.
That brings us to a question that really intrigued me.
Okay.
What does it mean to be truly manly or womanly in the pursuit of good?
Well, that's a good one.
It feels like such a loaded question in today's world.
It is a loaded question.
Right.
Alan was writing over a century ago, so
Right.
it's important to consider the context.
But his core message, I think, transcends time.
Okay.
He's not talking about adhering to rigid gender stereotypes.
Right.
He's talking about embodying the fullness of our human potential.
Okay.
For Alan, true godliness is not about suppressing our natural instincts, but about harmonizing them.
So instead of denying our animal nature, as he calls it,
Right.
we should strive to master and direct that energy towards worthy goals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that both strength and gentleness are essential qualities in the pursuit of good.
Yeah.
True strength lies not in brute force, but in the ability to control our impulses and channel our energy constructively.
Right.
And true gentleness doesn't equate to weakness.
Right.
but rather to compassion and understanding.
He even suggests that complete denial of our natural instincts would make us weaker,
Absolutely.
wouldn't it?
Repressing our instincts only creates internal conflict.
Right.
It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It's going to pop up somewhere else. So Alan encourages us to acknowledge and integrate all aspects of ourselves, to become masters of our own minds and bodies.
And that's where sincerity comes in.
Right.
Alan stresses the importance of honesty,
Okay.
both with ourselves and with others.
Yeah.
What role does sincerity play in this journey of self-mastery?
Well, sincerity is the bedrock of authentic living.
Okay.
It's about aligning our actions with our words, our outer expression with our inner truth. Alan criticizes those who preach virtue while engaging in hypocrisy.
Right.
He uses the example of those who pray for purity, yet spread gossip and slander.
It's a striking example,
It is.
and one that many of us can probably relate to.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
easy to get caught up in appearances and
Absolutely.
neglect the inner work of self-improvement.
Yeah. Alan reminds us that true transformation begins within. We can't build a life of integrity on a foundation of deceit.
It's almost like he's calling for a complete regeneration of humanity.
Right.
He talks about envisioning a new race of men and women, strong, upright, and noble, who will regenerate the earth.
It's a powerful vision.
It is.
And one that's deeply relevant today.
Yeah.
As we navigate the complexities of modern life.
Absolutely.
Alan's message of self-mastery and ethical living offers a timeless compass to guide us towards a more fulfilling and purposeful existence.
And speaking of purpose,
Yeah.
Alan dives deep into the concepts of energy and power.
He does.
It's like he's asking, how can we tap into the universe's inexhaustible energy and harness it in our own lives?
Right. He challenges the notion that we are mere puppets of fate.
Okay.
He sees us as having incredible potential.
Yeah.
Not as slaves to circumstance, but as kings and queens,
Yeah.
ruling over our own minds and bodies.
He believes that we're not inherently flawed,
Yeah.
but we become so through misdirected energy and a lack of self-awareness.
Right.
So it's not about acquiring more energy or power.
It's not.
It's about learning to use what we already have more effectively.
Exactly.
Like-
Alan introduces this concept of the law of compensation, which states that the energy we expend in one area is not available for use in another. Think of it like a budget.
Okay.
If you spend all your money on frivolous things,
Yeah.
you won't have any left for the things that truly matter.
So if we're constantly draining our energy on negative thoughts, unhealthy habits, or unproductive worries,
Right.
we're essentially robbing ourselves of the power to create something better.
Exactly.
Okay.
Alan contrasts the person who squanders their energy on trivial pursuits
Right.
with the one who focuses their energy on a central purpose. He even gives examples of how this wasted energy manifests in everyday life.
Like constantly complaining.
Yes.
Engaging in drama or getting caught up in things that don't truly matter.
Exactly.
It's like we're leaking energy instead of channeling it towards something meaningful.
Right. Alan's urging us to become more mindful of our energy expenditure.
Okay.
He wants us to identify where we're wasting power.
Right.
And redirect it towards building a life that aligns with our deepest values.
This resonates with me because I think many of us feel overwhelmed and depleted.
Absolutely.
It's not necessarily that we're lacking energy,
Right.
but that we're using it in ways that ultimately don't serve us.
And that brings us to the crucial concept of self-control.
Okay.
For Alan, self-control is not about repression or denying ourselves pleasure,
Right.
but about choosing how we direct our energy.
So it's not about becoming some kind of joyless robot,
It's not.
but about making conscious choices about where we invest our energy
Yeah.
so we can experience lasting fulfillment.
Precisely.
Okay.
He emphasizes that self-control is the key to mastering our lives and circumstances,
Right.
ultimately leading to true happiness.
He doesn't sugarcoat the fact that self-control often involves sacrifice.
It does.
Right.
He suggests that giving up fleeting pleasures can pave the way for more enduring joys.
And he uses the beautiful analogy of the seed dying to give birth to the flower.
It's a good one.
What seeds might you need to let go of to experience greater blossoming in your own life?
Wow.
What a powerful question.
It is.
It makes you think about what we might be clinging to
Yeah,
that's preventing us from experiencing greater joy and fulfillment.
exactly.
I have to admit, when I hear the word sacrifice,
Yeah.
I sometimes worry about life becoming dull and restrictive.
I understand.
Is that what Alan is advocating?
Not at all.
Okay.
For Alan, self-control is not about deprivation,
Okay.
but about aligning our choices with our highest values. He sees it as a gateway to a deeper, richer experience of life.
So it's about saying no to the things that ultimately don't serve us,
Yeah,
so we can say yes to the things that truly matter.
exactly.
It's about choosing the path of self-mastery over the fleeting allure of instant gratification.
Right.
And speaking of simplifying our lives,
Yeah.
Alan takes this concept even further.
Okay.
He compares a life cluttered with desires and beliefs to being physically weighed down.
Mm-hmm.
Could you elaborate on that?
Imagine carrying a backpack stuffed with unnecessary items.
Okay.
It would weigh you down, slow you down,
Yeah.
make it difficult to move freely.
Right.
That's what a life cluttered with excessive desires and beliefs feels like, according to Alan.
It's like we're carrying around all this baggage
It is.
that prevents us from experiencing true freedom and joy.
Right. Alan views simplicity as shedding those unnecessary burdens and focusing on what's essential, virtue and character.
Okay.
He admires the simplicity of core teachings from figures like Buddha, Confucius, and Jesus,
Right.
all emphasizing universal values like love and compassion.
It's amazing how these diverse traditions converge on this idea
It is.
of simplifying our lives and focusing on these fundamental principles.
Absolutely.
And while it's a simple concept, simplifying our lives is not always easy.
It's not, no.
Right.
It requires a rigorous process of self-examination.
Okay.
Questioning our beliefs and discarding those that no longer serve us.
It's like decluttering our minds. Just as we would declutter our homes.
Right.
We get rid of what's taking up space
Yeah.
and preventing us from creating something beautiful.
Exactly.
And for Alan, a life governed by love naturally leads to harmony and order in all its aspects.
Right.
It's a beautiful vision, isn't it?
It is.
And I think it's something many of us are striving for.
I think so too.
But how do we actually cultivate this sense of order and harmony amidst the chaos of everyday life?
Right. We'll continue our deep dive in just a moment.
Okay.
Stay with us.
All right.
We'll be right back.
Before the break, we were talking about simplifying our lives
Right.
and focusing on cultivating love and virtue.
Yeah.
This leads perfectly into Alan's emphasis on the transformative power of right thinking.
He doesn't just suggest it, he really hammers it home.
He does.
Alan believes right thinking is the foundation for everything else. It says the wise person controls their thoughts, while the fool is controlled by them.
What are the implications of this for us, as we navigate the complexities of modern life?
Well, Alan argues that our thoughts are not just fleeting mental events.
Okay.
They have real power.
Right.
They shape our perceptions, our emotions, and ultimately our actions.
Mm-hmm.
He even goes so far as to say that no amount of good deeds can compensate for wrong thinking.
Wow.
It's like building a house on a shaky foundation.
Right.
No matter how beautiful the structure, it's ultimately doomed to crumble.
That's a powerful image.
Yeah.
It makes you realize how crucial it is to cultivate a positive and constructive mindset.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He introduces this concept of the virtue of the intellect.
Okay.
Essentially, he's saying that just as we need to discipline our physical bodies,
Right.
we also need to train our minds.
Okay.
Uncontrolled thinking can be just as destructive as any addiction.
Oh, wow.
It can lead to anxiety, fear,
Right.
and a whole host of negative emotions that poison our lives.
This makes me think about the constant stream of information we're bombarded with every day.
Yeah.
Social media news advertising.
Right.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed and lose control of our mental space.
It is.
How can we cultivate this virtue of the intellect in such a noisy world?
Well, it's definitely a challenge.
Right.
Alan uses this beautiful analogy of the soaring bird returning to its nest in the rock.
Okay.
So he's saying that even as we explore different ideas and perspectives,
Right.
we need to ground ourselves in a solid foundation of virtue.
Okay.
We need that anchor point to return to when the winds of change threaten to blow us off course.
It's a beautiful reminder that we can explore all sorts of intellectual and philosophical concepts.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we need to ground our thinking in ethical principles if we want to live a truly meaningful life.
Absolutely.
Right.
And Alan is very practical in his approach to knowledge. He emphasizes that it's not enough to simply accumulate information.
Right.
True knowledge is experiential.
Okay.
Says what a man practices that he knows, what he doesn't practice that he doesn't know.
This resonates with me deeply.
Mm.
It's so easy to get caught up in reading self-help books or listening to inspiring podcasts
Yeah.
without actually putting those ideas into practice.
Right.
But Alan is reminding us that true transformation happens through action.
It does.
It's not enough to just think about it. We have to actually do it.
He's calling for an embodied approach to knowledge.
Okay.
It's not about memorizing facts and figures.
Mm.
It's about integrating wisdom into our daily lives.
Mm.
It's about aligning our actions with our values.
How do we cultivate this right thinking that Alan advocates?
That's the question, isn't it?
What are some practical steps we can take to master our thoughts and create a more peaceful inner world?
It begins with cultivating calmness.
Okay.
Think about those individuals who possess an unshakable inner strength.
Right.
They rarely seem flustered or reactive, even in the face of challenges.
Yeah,
That's the power of calmness.
that's true.
There's a certain presence and composure that comes with true inner strength. Allen describes calmness as the shining halo that enhances all our other virtues.
Oh,
It's like calmness amplifies the power of our positive qualities,
yeah.
allowing them to shine through more brightly.
It creates a sense of spaciousness within, doesn't it?
It does.
Instead of being constantly reactive,
Yeah.
we can respond to life's challenges from a place of centeredness and clarity.
He contrasts this inner state with the constant craving for excitement and external stimulation that many people experience. It's like they're always searching for something outside of themselves to fill a void that can only be filled from within.
And that search can be exhausting, can't it?
It can.
Always chasing after the next thrill, the next distraction,
Yeah.
never finding true peace.
Right. Allen emphasizes that calmness for him is not a passive state of resignation.
Okay.
It's a state of active strength and self-possession
Right.
that we cultivate through consistent effort and self-control.
So it's not about becoming passive or emotionless.
No.
It's about choosing to respond to life's ups and downs with grace and composure.
Exactly. It's a
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah.
He challenges us to consider what small steps we can take today to cultivate greater calmness in our own lives.
Right.
It could be as simple as taking a few deep breaths before reacting to a stressful situation, or incorporating a mindfulness practice into your daily routine.
Those are great suggestions.
Yeah,
Even small adjustments to our daily routines and mental habits can make a big difference.
they can.
And as we cultivate this inner calmness,
Yeah,
we also begin to develop greater insight, wouldn't you say?
absolutely.
Okay.
For Allen, the consistent practice of virtue ultimately leads to what he calls divine insight.
Okay.
This isn't about mystical visions or supernatural experiences.
Right.
It's about developing a deep and intuitive understanding of the workings of life.
It's about seeing beyond the surface level of things.
Yes,
And recognizing the interconnectedness of all things.
exactly.
Like that.
It's about understanding the law of cause and effect,
Right.
not just in a scientific sense, but in a moral and spiritual sense as well.
Right.
Allen believes that once we truly grasp this understanding,
Yeah.
wrongdoing becomes impossible.
Wow.
Not because we're repressing our desires,
Okay.
but because our perspective has fundamentally shifted.
It's like we no longer see those negative actions as appealing
We don't.
because we understand their ultimate consequences.
Exactly.
We've matured beyond that level of thinking.
He highlights how true strength is revealed in the face of temptation.
Okay.
It's easy to appear virtuous when we're surrounded by positive influences.
Right.
The real test comes when we're faced with difficult choices, when we have to summon our inner strength to resist the pull of our lower impulses.
It reminds me of the saying, integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And through this process of facing and overcoming temptations,
Right.
through our failures and successes,
Yeah.
we gradually refine our understanding of virtue
Yeah, right.
and come closer to that perfect insight that Allen describes as truly divine.
It's a lifelong journey of self-discovery and growth.
It is.
And it brings us to one of the most intriguing concepts in Alan's book,
Okay.
the idea of man the master.
Right.
He asks this profound question. What if there's a level of consciousness beyond our everyday worries and desires?
Interesting.
What if we can access a state of being that transcends the limitations of our ego?
This is where Allen introduces the concept of divine consciousness.
Okay.
He describes it as a state where the sense of separation dissolves
Right.
and anxieties about personal gain or loss fade away.
Okay.
He connects this idea to similar concepts found in various spiritual traditions, Kingdom of Heaven, Nirvana, Tao, the Oversoul, cosmic consciousness.
Right.
The names may differ, but the essence is the same.
It's fascinating how these diverse traditions all point towards this possibility
It is.
of transcending the limitations of our ordinary ego-centered awareness.
For Allen, ordinary human consciousness is preoccupied with self-preservation
Right.
and the pursuit of pleasure and avoidance of pain. Oh,
But
boy.
divine consciousness transcends these personal concerns
Yeah.
and operates from a place of unity and interconnectedness.
Right.
It's about shifting from a me-centered perspective to a we-centered perspective.
So it's not about denying our individuality. It's
Yeah.
about recognizing that we're part of something much larger than ourselves.
Exactly.
He highlights the profound difference in motivation between these two states of consciousness.
Yep.
The self-conscious person is driven by their personal desires and fears,
Mm-hmm.
while the divinely conscious person acts from a higher principle of rightness,
Yes.
regardless of personal consequences.
It's like operating from a different level of awareness.
Right.
We're no longer just reacting to our circumstances.
Right.
We're acting from a place of inner wisdom and alignment with a greater good.
And this leads us to the ultimate goal of the life triumphant,
Okay.
as Alan describes it: knowledge and victory.
Mm-hmm.
But he clarifies that the knowledge he's referring to is not simply book learning or intellectual understanding.
He's talking about a deeper kind of knowing, isn't he?
Exactly. It's
Well-
not about accumulating facts and figures.
Right.
It's about a deep experiential understanding of life's truths.
Mhm.
It's about wisdom, not just information.
He uses the analogy of faith being the starting point of the journey toward knowledge,
Right.
while knowledge is the ultimate destination.
Yeah.
Could you expand on that?
He envisions faith as the pilgrim's staff supporting us as we embark on the journey.
Okay.
Knowledge, on the other hand, represents the city of refuge at the journey's end,
Right.
the place of peace and understanding we strive to reach.
It's a beautiful image.
It is.
It suggests that faith gives us the courage to begin the journey,
Mhm.
and knowledge is the reward for our perseverance.
And Alan makes it clear that he believes true liberation from life's turmoil is only possible
Yeah.
through a life of purity and blamelessness,
Okay.
a life that ultimately leads to enlightenment.
Do you think this is a realistic goal for most people,
Wow.
to live a completely blameless life?
It's a challenging ideal, no doubt.
Right.
But I think Alan is pointing towards a direction and aspiration,
Okay.
rather than laying out a rigid set of rules.
Right.
He's reminding us that the path to true happiness and fulfillment
Mm-hmm.
lies in aligning ourselves with our highest values
Okay.
and striving to live in accordance with those values.
Right.
He compares the wise person to a skilled scholar who has mastered their subject.
So just as the scholar has no doubt about their abilities,
Exactly.
the wise person has no fear regarding their destiny.
He sees the wise person as someone who has faced countless tests and emerged victorious.
Right.
They've learned from their mistakes, refined their understanding,
Okay.
and developed an unshakable inner knowing.
Mhm.
They're no longer tossed about by the winds of circumstance.
Right.
They've found their center.
It's a beautiful analogy.
It's
It suggests that we can all attain this level of wisdom and mastery, not through some magical transformation,
right.
but through consistent effort, self-reflection, and a willingness to learn and grow from our experiences.
It's about embracing the journey with all its ups and downs
Right.
and trusting that each experience, each challenge, each triumph
Yeah.
is leading us closer to that ultimate goal of self-mastery and the life triumphant.
So it sounds like Alan is saying that true mastery isn't about like achieving some perfect state of being,
Right.
but it's more about embracing that ongoing process of learning and growth.
Exactly. It's a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
And it's a journey that requires courage, commitment,
Mhm.
and a willingness to confront our limitations.
Right.
But as Alan reminds us, the rewards are well worth the effort.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the Life Triumphant,
Yeah.
what are some key takeaways that our listeners can apply to their own lives?
Well, I think one of the most powerful messages is that emphasis on personal responsibility.
Okay.
Alan reminds us that we have the power to choose our thoughts and actions,
Hmm.
and those choices ultimately shape our destiny.
It's so easy to fall into the trap of blaming external circumstances for our unhappiness.
It is.
But Alan really challenges us to look within.
He encourages us to examine our beliefs
Right.
and let go of those that no longer serve us,
Yeah.
to simplify our lives and focus on what truly matters. Cultivating virtue, strengthening our character,
Yeah.
and choosing love over fear.
And to remember that true knowledge isn't just about accumulating information, but about embodying those principles in our daily lives.
Absolutely.
It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly.
And he encourages us to cultivate calmness
Yeah.
as a source of strength and resilience,
Right.
to respond to life's challenges with grace and composure rather than reacting impulsively. What would you say to someone who struggles with anxiety and feels overwhelmed by the constant demands of modern life?
Well, I'd remind them that even small changes can make a big difference.
Oh.
Start with something simple, like incorporating a few minutes of mindfulness into your daily routine.
Right.
Pay attention to your breath. Notice the sensations in your body
Yeah.
and observe your thoughts without judgment.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way of creating space between you and your reactions,
Right.
giving you the opportunity to choose a more skillful response.
That's a great suggestion.
Yeah,
It's about creating those moments of pause throughout the day, those opportunities to reconnect with our inner center.
absolutely.
And remember that self-compassion is key.
It is.
We're all on this journey together, and we're all going to stumble along the way.
We are.
The important thing is to keep getting back up, keep learning,
Mm-hmm.
and keep growing.
That brings us to a final thought-provoking question for our listeners.
Okay?
If you could eliminate just one source of turmoil in your life by mastering a particular aspect of your character,
Yeah.
which would you choose?
Right.
What would that look like in practice?
What a powerful question.
It is.
It invites us to reflect on our own personal challenges
Yeah.
and consider how we might approach them differently.
Maybe it's mastering the tendency to worry. Right. Or cultivating greater patience in challenging situations.
Okay.
Or learning to communicate more effectively with loved ones.
Whatever it might be,
Mm-hmm.
I think the key takeaway from Alan's work is that the journey towards self-mastery and the life triumphant is always possible, one step at a time.
It's about embracing the process, committing to the journey,
Yeah.
and trusting that each experience, no matter how challenging, is an opportunity for growth and transformation.
I encourage you to dive deeper into Alan's work and discover the profound wisdom it holds.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep striving, and keep on that upward climb.